that, see if we were playing two men up top, I just feel that, I mean, obviously it changes the whole shape of the team, but I just think there's a lot more goals in this team with the strikers we've got. I feel so sorry for Sepovic because he needs a run in the team. Strikers need to play to build a form, to build an understanding with their teammates, and he's not really had the chance yet. And likelihood is Guidetti will probably come back in after sitting out last night. And I'd rather it was a pairing picked and they had a run at it. I'm just not loving the one up front. I don't know. I mean, I see the good football around about the other side of it, but just the striker on his own it's just not working for me. I feel sorry for the strikers. I think they'd probably rather play with a partner as well.
What did you think?
That's me just guessing, but I think there'll be a lot more goals than them.
What did you think of Guidetti when he came on last night? Apart from getting in the way of the fucking, the ball to Chris Commons, that could have been a goal. But I thought he played well when he came on.
It's got 10 minutes to go. I mean, what chances he got? You know what I mean? It's done all right, huh?
Shepovich, the good thing about it was when he scored, right, he was obviously very, very, very happy with himself, as you would be. But I mean, he didn't look like an outsider in terms of the celebrations and stuff. He looked like, because you can't worry about that sort of thing about a guy like him that's not playing. I mean, do you kind of drift into the periphery of the team, or are you still kind of part of the setup and part of the unit?
It looked like the players enjoyed it for him.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. I think they looked really pleased for him as well.
And the thing is, it's not like he's missing 10 chances of that. I mean, I felt really frustrated for him last night because he was making runs and the ball just wasn't going. You know what I mean? It wasn't coming. It was going past him. He wasn't picking out passes. A number of occasions there were players go in the box and you're just thinking, right, just show that wee bit composure and just pick somebody out. Preferably Skepovic, but it never happened. But you can definitely see. I mean, I know what happens. I mean, I kind of you see it again last night the way Kilmarnock played. Just everybody behind the ball. We'll try and hit them on the break. And the only team that's really worked for is Dun United, who were fortunate to get an early goal and then could sit in and hit us on the break. Kilmarnock did that, and I'm looking at this going, we really didn't need 4 defenders here. You know what I mean? Because they're just going to hit one. I mean, you've got the boy. Connolly, I mean, Jesus Christ, he managed to he got away with murder last night. Some of the stuff that he was up to. But, these are the kind of games that Celtic, I think, we don't get enough credit for winning them and winning them well. There was pressure on us last night. You saw the narrative for the start. They've got the fucking Aberdeen manager in the studios. Oh, Derek, brilliant, fucking this is it. Look at the pressure, we'll get the manager in. Then that half-foot Tanner says, in Celtic, 9 points worse off than they were last season. We've got 2 games in hand, David. You know what I mean? He's a fucking break here. Added to the fact that when we were 9 points better off, as you claimed last night, we were out the fucking League Cup in the first round, we were out of Europe.
Yeah.
But, you can't have it all both ways. That was to the detriment.
See that Fanny Tanner, right? I mean, if this was his first season as a host, but fair enough, he's learning the ropes. But who at Sky employing that clown, looking at him every year and going, he's doing a great job. He's not got a fucking clue what was going on around about him. He stutters, he stammers, he's just a cliche machine. I've never seen, it's embarrassing. It doesn't help Scottish football when it's on the television and you've got clowns like that sort of promoting it, if you know what I mean. Yeah. I thought Derek McInnes was actually alright. At half time, he was very, very complimentary towards Celtic. Andy Walker's just he just annoys me looking at him. But that Tanner, I don't understand how people like that get to where they are in television because he's absolutely fucking hopeless.
I know. Seemingly the reason he's there is because Jim White was a very good friend of his old man. His old man used to be the commentator for the blind supporters at Ibrox. So, it was just like Casey getting my laddie to start somewhere and he's just stuck on. But I mean, it is. It's just, I mean, people slag off the Red Naps and the Robbie Savages because they're always fucking promoting everything and saying everything's great and all that kind of thing. And then we get subjected to Walker and Neil McCann and all this kind of thing. I mean, fucking Commons has been done in the first minute. Really bad tackle. Boys doesn't even get fucking carried for it. Then Hamill does him again. And Neil McCann's reaction is to say, I was just checking to make sure he wasn't hurt.
Aye.
I mean, what the fuck are you talking about? It doesn't help the game. You've got these half-wits who, were average fucking players in decent teams at the time. coming on and acting. Craig Burley used to do the exact same, and acting as though they won 5 Champions Leagues and 2 World Cups.
Yeah.
And it never misplaced a pass and all this kind of thing. It just doesn't fucking help the game at all. Especially when we all know, and you can fucking YouTube these guys, there's millions of guys at day after dinner speaking who are fantastic, funny, intelligent, erudite about the game. Never get near the fucking telly because these fucking half-wits are there every single time.
See, you mentioned guys like that, Paul, guys who pretend like they were the greatest in the world. Dare I say the one we shouldn't speak his name, Chris Sutton, back at it again. I mean, I
didn't even read what he says, but the guy, he's a fucking wank. I don't even want to see or hear ever from him again. He's nothing to do with Celtic. He's him and Hartson can do what they want. Their time with Celtic is gone and been, and it's forgotten about as far as I'm concerned.
But they come out and say some stupid shit like the most worthless treble if they win it.
It's to them. Because they're no Celtic supporters.
I wouldn't even give that any more fucking air if I was you.
I mean, just to say a treble's worthless with having done it 3 times in our entire history, it's just beyond fucking belief.
Exactly.
So, I'm just looking at a message here. What else are we going to from this? What else we got to talk about? I mean, we're only at 20 past 8.
What did you think of the game? You never really.
I think of the game. I thought it was a great game to watch. I watched the game and headed out to a work Christmas party for like 2 drinks and came back. But I thought it was a great game. I mean, can I say that fucking crowd was ridiculously bad? I mean, that's shocking.
But that was a certainty. We spoke about this at New Year.
Yep.
Yeah, I was up in the pub, and then me and Paul spoke about it, and it just says that this will be the worst Celtic away crowd in living memory.
But no, I thought the away crowd wasn't bad. I mean, the actual crowd, the Kilmarnock fans, the lack of them.
Oh, but in just in general terms, it's the first day, vast majority of people back to work.
Yeah.
It's the first day back to work. The expense of Christmas, everybody's skint. The rain was coming in horizontal. And you just say to yourself, who's going to go up? And probably the price of tickets, 20 odd quid.
Aye.
So it's just an absolute disaster. And the powers that be that run Scottish football need to have a word with themselves.
Right, we'll get on to that in a minute. But game last night, I mean, I still think the play is great, the passing's great. Chris Commons definitely, it was great to see him come in, and even better to see him do extremely well. I mean, man of the match. And they asked him, I suppose, afterwards about his contract, and obviously he hasn't signed it, and that's not good. But I mean, overall, it was great to see Henderson, a young fella, playing really, really well. He's got a maturity about him as a footballer, and he looks about 9 years old, to be honest. You know what I mean? But I mean, he plays like a man, which is good to see. Effie Ambrose, you just roll the dice with that guy, don't you? Really? And somebody turns up. Matthews again, brilliant. I've always been a fan of Matthews. I love his wing play; it's fantastic, And he can score a goal sometimes too. Izagiri, delighted to see Izagiri score.
Yeah, everybody was.
And a smashing goal too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I'll get something I want to say if you finish your wee bit, Joe. Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I'd like to put this wee debate out to everybody, right? I've been speaking about it with a few people, but none of you guys, so this is kind of the first I've kind of mentioned it to you. But Beaton, right, he's getting praise lavished on him left, right and centre. Now, I'm not sure, because here's what I think, right? I think he plays in the same position as where Neil Lennon played, right? But he's a third of the player that Neil Lennon was. Because he plays all the easy balls and very rarely loses a ball. He's got great ball retention, which Lennon was great at. But Lennon bossed the midfield. Beaton doesn't. And Lennon read the game and broke down opposition attacks. And Beaton doesn't.
But Lennon never pulled out of tackles either as well.
Sorry?
Lennon never pulled out of tackles. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Aye, so he broke down opposition attacks and he put the foot in. So I kind of think Beaton is very much he's a third of Neil Lennon. So what do you think?
Well, I think that's pretty similar to what I said last week. I said much the same, and you said you kind of agreed that he's probably the kind of guy that would look fantastic if we were showboating and all at the top of our team, because I think the proof in the pudding there we went through the whole team speaking about how everybody played and nobody mentioned them.
Yeah.
And that kind of sums him up a lot of the time, I think.
But
He doesn't do much wrong, but he just doesn't really do much, is the point, I think.
But I think... so that's
for one of the main... But Jason, you're right, he's in the engine house.
Aye,
I mean,
so this was the
he's
point.
got to make things happen there.
Yeah, and nobody really spoke about Neil Lennon when he played. He was the water carrier, so to speak. You know, he was the guy that done all the dirty work and let the rest of the team function. Whereas Beaton doesn't really do much of the dirty work. He just gets the ball and plays the nice easy ball. And all right, he plays with his head up and stuff like that, and he's young, but I just don't think in the engine room. He's we're wanted short if we're playing a good side. Put it that way. We'll go over one. I don't know. What do you think, Paul?
Well, I think in the position Beaton plays, that first and foremost, what you have to be able to do is protect the defence, which he doesn't do. Which Neil Lennon done fantastically, and which players. And then if you can do things after that, then you've got a real player on your hands. You know what I mean? Lennon, we know, didn't score goals, didn't really set up goals. But as an example, Charlie Mulgrew protects the defence brilliantly when he's there. And he can ping across and stuff like that. He frustrates the fans because he's not got pace in midfield and can sometimes kind of get caught and stuff. But
I think he's reading the game shite as well. But Charlie Mulgrew.
But we will concede less goals when Charlie Mulgrew's in front of Van Dijk and Ambrose or Denier or whatever. I think you could be getting a lot more for a player like that. And I would say that, to me, looking at him and judging on what has been happening through the development squad, things like that, Liam Henderson would be the obvious one for me to go into that role, because he can tackle and he can do all these things, and he can control games. The reason that he's in the squad again is because he's controlling the 6-1 demolition at Murray Park. So I kind of know what you mean. It does feel a wee bit like Beaton is kind of coasting through games at the minute, and it kind of reminds me of Rio Ferdinand's book when he first ate here and said, he passed the ball sideways, and Roy Keane just says to him, if you're going to pass the ball sideways, you may as well fuck off back to Leeds now. And that's kind of what it is. It's like you have to take risks at Celtic. You're playing against 8, 9, 10 men, behind the ball. You've got to make that pass and get incisive. You can't just keep rolling it along the midfield and whatever. And Beaton's not really doing that now. He's keeping it very safe,
See that role?
But the amount of people, sorry Joe, but the amount of people I'm hearing waxing lyrical about him, and I'm like, I just don't see it, because Neil Lennon done all the passes. But before he'd done all the passes, he'd read the game, he'd broke down their attack, he'd halved a couple of their hatchet men, and then he'd get the ball and then he'd give it to a playmaker. And sometimes he thread the ball through himself, but that wasn't really his primary role. His primary role was to boss the midfield, which he done fantastically. But Beaton certainly doesn't. If everyone's going well with Beaton, he's brilliant, because the team's showboating and he's getting to sort of swan about, and he looks pretty good, and their midfield's all over the place. But when I don't see it. But
see that
role? It looks effortless, I think, because it doesn't help him. He's got that kind of stature.
That's a benefit, because he's a good player. He's good with the ball at his feet.
It doesn't help
He's
him.
a talented player.
But you look at, I watched, I don't know if any of you've seen it, the Crazy Gang documentary, but Vinnie Jones has basically played in that same role, and Vinnie Jones is talking about how he studied Steve McMahon, and he noticed that he always took the ball for the fullback and opened his body up so that would be his chance to do him. Do you really think Neil Beaton's studying anybody and going, right, this is how I can dominate my opponent right now and stuff like that? As you say, it just looks so lackadaisical. And it's funny because one player I used to think you look like that all the time was Key. And Key now doesn't look like that when he plays for Swansea. He's toughened up. You know what I mean? He's in about people and he's fighting with people. And the boy got a bad tackle there at the weekend. He's straighting about the guy and all that kind of thing. That's what you need to do. You know what I mean? That's the guys that separate it. I mean, in Scotland, unfortunately, the guys that normally can play and are like that, obviously nobody touches them like a bass pole. I'm thinking of people like Chick Charnley and people like that. You know what I mean? They would just fucking explode at anybody. You know what I mean? Right. But you sometimes, if you can channel it well, I think in general in football, we're losing these kind of characters, we're losing these kind of hard men. And the hard men were never the guys that ran about kicking people. They were the guys that just stepped up when you needed it the most. And you kind of think, it used to be, I remember Paddy Bonner saying, you know, when you knew you had a Celtic player on your hands is when he stepped up at Ibrox. We obviously haven't got that now, but you just wonder, in a couple of years previous, could Neil Beaton step up at Ibrox if we were 2-0 down and the persevering and all that, and that's the kind of players that you really want, that they can then supplement the real good players, you know.
How old is he? He's 22 or something.
He's early 20s, I think he's early 20s.
I mean, I don't know what to sound too harsh in him either, because he's no a bad player, like, no, it's just...
Aye, and but